Hey, welcome back to Black Label Minis. I'm your host, Rob. This week we are concluding our three-part series on the Rebel Pathfinders from Star Wars Legion by Fantasy Flight Games with Baston. Sometimes the hardest part of painting a miniature is not just figuring out the paint scheme for the particular one that you're working on, but also the basis for the character itself. In franchises like Star Wars, for example, Baston himself looks like he's a combination of 3 or 4 different things in a humanoid form. The closest that I can figure that he is somewhere between a cross between a mercat, a hairless chimpanzee, and a crested owl. What do you think he is? So the first thing you'll notice here is that his jumpsuit and the metallic things on him are already painted. The green parts are done with a medium olive, blue parts with a intermediate blue, and the metallics were done in a steel, all from a Vallejo model error. Pretty sure these were done while painting Poe and forgot to hit record. It happens. So go ahead and paint those parts, and then we'll start on his skin with some beige red from Vallejo. Remember to always thin your paints down with some water or other medium. It is always better to do 2 or 3 coats instead of one thick one. And moving on to the hair. For that, we're going to be using the Vallejo Game Color Earth, and we are just going to be painting the hair on the top of his head. Don't do his eyebrows, don't do his mutton chops there, just the top. And let's get to work on those mutton chops now. For that and his eyebrows, we're going to be using some Vallejo Model Color Deck Tam. If you based your guy in white or gray, this shouldn't take more than 1 coat, maybe 2, depending on how much you thin it down. Now, after letting that skin dry for a few minutes, let's go back with a 50-50 mix of beige red and basic skin tone. Pick out the nose, the tops of the ears, and his fingertips. And let's go ahead and finish off that skin, this time with straight basic skin tone. We're going to continue hitting those high tips on his nose and his ears and any other spots that you think really deserve it. Now we're going to get to work on his parachute harness and his patches. On the back of his jumpsuit, Bastan has this object similar, the best I guess, is a parachute harness. And for that I'm using a mixture of Vallejo Model Color Flat Brown and Game Color Leather Brown. This only covers the top half of that area, so remember to leave the blue flap, the bottom portion of it, of that flap, in the blue color. Also on his legs and his arms, he's got these little pouches or whatever. You want to go ahead and paint those in the same color also. Now, using a mixture of intermediate green and green ochre, we're going to be painting the areas in from his knee, between his knees and his boots, the area on his right shoulder to his elbow. Take care not to paint that little area on the front inside section of that arm. Then you're going to want to repeat this same spot on his left side also. So when I first researched Bastan, I came to the conclusion that his jumpsuit was this intermediate or, muted blue color. But then I started looking at more pictures on the internet and digging deeper, and depending on the lighting situation that the pictures were taken in, his jumpsuit can look green or it can look blue. So I decided that I liked the green theory a little bit better. And so what I did was I took a little bit of Panzer Olive and mixed it in with some gray green from Vallejo. And you're just going to want to paint basically all the areas that were left in blue. Don't paint the areas that we already painted green ochre or the areas that were painted in the flat brown. Moving on to highlighting that green ochre section on his jumpsuit. Let's take the original mixture of intermediate green ochre and add in a little bit of Model Color Buff and highlight all those previous areas. As usual, just be mindful about leaving a fair amount of the previous color showing. Back to the brown areas, this time with straight leather brown from Vallejo. You have the patches on his legs, the upper arms, and that parachute harness on his back. For all the jumpsuit areas that were done in the Panzer Olive Gray Green mixture, you want to highlight those areas in a straight Panzer Olive this time around. Add in a little bit of pale green to that Panzer and continue to highlight those same sections. Remember, we just want to hit the highest areas of the folds and anything that would be facing upward. After letting that guy dry for a few minutes, let's grab some brown tone from Army Painter. This will be used on all the leather sections and also on the hair on the top of his head, not the mutton chops. Now, using some military shade from Army Painter, let's go ahead and shade the rest of the jumpsuit, all the areas that were done in Panzer Olive or Green Ochre. So off camera, I painted his weapon in gunmetal, and all the areas, all the 2-port things on his jumpsuit, I painted those in Vallejo Model Air Steel. For these areas, using some Army Painter dark tone, let's go ahead and shade them and give them some nice depth. For the face and hands, you can use some Army Painter Fleshwash. On his facial hair, you can use that strong tone from his weapons. You just want to make sure that you thin it down really, really well. Maybe add some flow improver to it to help the shade find the deepest recesses. And after giving the shade probably about 20 to 30 minutes to completely dry up, go ahead and come back and highlight colors and clean up any areas that you feel that need it. So after cleaning our Mini and basing them in a fashion to match our army, we're ready to steal some Death Star plans. So have you decided what Baston is yet? I still say he's a monkey owl. If you like my channel and want to help out, below you will find a link for patreon.com where you can help decide on projects or even win free stuff. There's also a PayPal tip jar link as well as Teespring where you can buy official BLM swag. Remember to like, subscribe, and share to help my channel grow. And as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.